All right, so I came across this on my favorite place, Reddit, and it says, "How do I stop being so desperate?" And I saw this and I said, you know what? I think I'm uniquely qualified to answer this question because once upon a time I was a very, very desperate man. So I said, you know what? Let me take a stab at it. All right, 26-year-old straight male. Why can't I stop thinking about every girl I go on a date with? I've been on 5 dates in 1 month, and every time after I'm done with the date, I imagine I imagine she being my wife, having kids, buying her home. How do I stop being so attached very early on? Is this normal? For context, I haven't been in a relationship ever in my life. Every rejection, I feel bad, although it doesn't hurt that much like it used to. He then goes on to say, they always made some excuses to not hang out again, like you live too far, we're not compatible. I don't have time to get into a relationship right now, except for the one date yesterday. We've had our second date this week. How do I stop being so desperate? Thanks. Yeah, I mean, when I think about this, is like what really is desperation? You know, I think about this is something in your mind that you're telling yourself that you need and want very badly, and so you continue to think about it. You start to obsess over it, and in the process of that, you make actually obtaining that goal it becomes counterproductive because you can't even like sit down with a woman and just enjoy her company and just laugh and talk and just enjoy the moment because you're always thinking about these things that you want that you've built up in your mind as so important to where when you're meeting with someone, you cannot help but obsess over this future that you've created in your mind that doesn't exist. So for me, same thing. And that's how I can speak to it because it's the same thing. I had in my mind a vision of the future that I wanted to have and how that related to women, how that related to friends, how that relates to everything, right? And so I'm the type of person like if I become focused on something or there's something that I want to obtain, it's difficult for me if I'm in a position to do what it takes to achieve that to kind of not think about that, not think about achieving that goal. So what I mean is like, okay, if my goal is to have, let's say, a rotation of women. So my goal wasn't to get married, right? Depends on what we're talking about. Let's just say like my goal was to have a rotation of women, right? And it's like, okay, so first you have to meet one and she has to like you and you got to kind of start developing something with her. And that has to go on for a period of time. Then you have to meet another one and repeat and so on and so forth, right? And so now I'm presented with the opportunity to realize my goal when I'm out on a date with one woman, because she would be the first step in growing a rotation. And so the entire time I cannot think about anything other than like, you know what, this girl is going to be a part of my rotation. I'm going to know, I'm going to find time for her. We're going to find shit that we like to do when we're together, shit like that. And instead of just actually getting to know her in the moment and actually focusing and trying to see like, wait a minute, do I even like this woman? Like, am I interviewing her or is she interviewing me? Right. So I had to get to a point where I just stepped back and stop trying to everyone I meet, seeing them as a vehicle to an outcome that I want, and kind of step back and start assessing people first. Because once I got to that point to where I assess people first, I started to realize like, you know what? Yeah, at first maybe she was attractive and this is someone that I can see, being a part of my regular routine with. But then I started to learn information that I don't like. I start to notice behavior patterns I don't like. I start to notice character traits I don't like, shit like that. So when it's like, wow, I'm glad that this didn't move too fast, right? So for me, I think that's the thing is you have to stop acting like you're going on a job interview. Stop acting like you're selling something, like you're selling yourself. So like another, I guess kind of not really related, but I mean, it's related in a sense because it's my history. But long time ago, I had a job where I had to do sales. And so part of that is you have to be able to strike up a conversation with people, and you have to be able to carry a conversation and interweave in whatever goals you're trying to do. The reason why I used to suck at that is because I knew I needed this person to actually do what I wanted them to do in order to have the positive impact on my livelihood that I wanted to have, right? And so just knowing that that person had a certain level of control on me would like really fuck me up. And just started to get very nervous and just bumbling and shit like that. But if I go to a bar, I can just sit there and chop it up with a total stranger, and we can banter back and forth, whatever. And the reason being is because I'm not looking for anything from this stranger. Like, there's no need to close anything. We're just talking, right? And so once I started to understand that perspective, and if I meet with someone, we go on a date, I'm not going to sell myself. Like, I'm actually going to analyze this person that I'm going to meet. And chances are I'm going to see something that I don't like. And another part that comes with that is when I go on a date now, and I'm kind of trying to do the assessment of the woman, I kind of go in like being my full self. Whereas before I would kind of be my representative because I'm trying to win her over. Whereas now, like, I just go and be in my full self. Like, you know what? I like to smoke weed. I'm going to show up to this date high. I'm going to smell like weed. I'm going to talk about the topics that I like to talk about. I might say some offensive shit. I'm going to do what the fuck I want to do because I'm seeing if this person can take me being myself. And if they can't, great. I'm glad it won't work out. So I don't approach the date situation trying to sell myself. I approach the date situation like, okay, I'm looking at you. Do you fit what the fuck I want? And if you do, let's keep this going. If you don't, enjoy, right? So I think that's what it is. You have to like really reset your perspective. Really, if I were to sum all this fucking rambling I've been doing, if I was to sum this shit up, is reset your perspective. You cannot continue to enter this dating situation with the perspective of you need to win a bitch over. You need to start entering a perspective that, you are here to assess whether or not that she even qualifies to, or she meets the criteria that you're looking for to actually, build that future with. Because a lot of times people don't. A lot of times we go and we show up on a date and all we see is that ass, we see that titties, we see them toes painted, we see whatever features that we like, the smell good, we notice the walk, we're thinking about like, okay, let's get her home, all of this type of shit. But you're not really thinking about like, okay, do I know what it is I want out of life, and as it relates to a woman fitting into that? Do I know what that is? Right? Because if you know what it is and you approach a woman now, your job is to see and try to weed her out and see if you can find, try to poke holes in her presentation to try to see if she doesn't meet your criteria. And then if she actually does, then hey, and if she's also feeling you like that too, then you go on another date. You can't go on these fucking dates thinking that every woman that you find attractive, and that's probably what it boils down to. You're seeing these women who are attractive, you're very attracted to them, and then that's all you can think about. You're not thinking about assessing this woman for, her ability to fulfill the role that you want a woman to have in your life, because you probably haven't even thought about that. So I would say, adjust your perspective. Adjust your perspective. Go into the date with the understanding that you are there to select. And but in order to get to that point, you got to kind of have to know in your mind, like, the trajectory of your life and where you see a woman fitting into that. Because without having that, it's going to be very difficult to, change your perspective. Because how can you go in and vet someone? What the fuck are you vetting them for? So that's my thoughts on that shit.